Hey YouTube, it's James here from Team Sorcerers and of course from the WyvernWatch, my channel as well. This is a little bit of continuation of a series that Dark Magician and Dragon Master 25 has started, so I thought I'd continue with it. The purpose of it is just to sort of rank our summoning mechanics or our favourite summoning mechanics. I've got some of my decks down here just to sort of pick some of my favourites and some of my not so favourites on there. But you know, it's really sort of going through the sort of different mechanics that have been launched over the years and then trying to sort of pick our favourites from it. I think the choices are probably going to be fairly similar, if I'm honest. But as with the other two, I have started with pendulums. Now, I've only got one pendulum deck, and it's this one here. And there's a few reasons why I picked it out, but it's the only reason why I've got, this is my Magispector deck, by the way, so, you know, just so there's no surprises there. But my Magispector deck, of course, when you come to look at the cards, are really just glorified monster cards because they actually don't have a pendulum effect. So that was one of the main things that really started to put me off pendulum decks when it comes to looking at the cards, and there's just a lot of text on there, and at the time, you know, I thought they were getting complicated enough with you know, with the amount of text they squeeze on these cards nowadays. But I must admit, I've been converted with it a little bit, certainly with this deck. I absolutely love this deck to pieces. But when you get cards like this that are a cross between an Exceed and a Pendulum card, then it really starts to make sense. But look how much text is on there. Honestly, it's a full busy card, that. So yeah, I've only got the one Pendulum deck. So that answers, you know, so I would certainly rank it last in terms of the summoning mechanics, but I imagine that might be the same with a couple of the other guys from Team Sorcerers as well. This is the next one. So this is my excuse me. This is my Necros deck. Now, of course, Necros deck is of course Rituals. So Rituals goes in at number 4. It's back to front, that I just noticed. Need to switch the camera around. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that now, but we'll just have to bear with me on that one. But even if you can read it backwards, that still says Necrosbryonic. Yeah, so we're going with Ritual 4th. Now that doesn't mean I disliked it, because I don't dislike it. I've got a couple of Ritual decks now. So I've got Blackluster Soldier as well, which is sort of my first Ritual deck. I've got Libromancer as well, which is also a Ritual deck. I think I've got another one as well. Can't remember off the top of my head, but you know, Necros is certainly the later of them in terms of Ritual. So we'll put Rituals in at number 4. Number 3. Now this deck is my Crusadia deck, which should answer the question, because of course it is a pure link deck. So I've got a few link decks, if I'm honest. So there's a few cards in here that you know, sorry, a few decks of mine that are pure links, but and a lot of them have a link element anyway, and I think that part of it is actually quite good for the game, that you can just add a few links and always have an option what you can do. Some decks would portray that you can't do that, of course, but actually I don't think it's overpowered. It's just that, well, there are some very powerful link monsters, but there's some very powerful fusion monsters now. There's some very, very powerful synchro monsters and Xyz monsters. So yes, I think it was a little bit broken when it first came out, but I think it's certainly sort of calmed down a little bit. They've, you know, obviously put a few on the ban list now, so to calm it all down, and I think it has worked. Most decks can run a few links just as an option now, and I think that's quite good for the game, you know, just having a few utility cards that you can just sort of go into should their main mechanic not be available for whatever reason. Let's say you've just not got that tuner for that synchro summon, but you have still got 2 monsters on the field. It's something you could do. Something you can go into and maybe progress your turn. It's not going to fix it, but it just means that there's just another option that maybe you haven't thought of before. And at number 2 then is probably, well, it's the first summoning mechanic really. Well, fusion's like the original summon mechanic. You know what? I haven't put a fusion in here. I've missed one. Hang on 1 second. Let me just put. We'll just pause one sec. Sorry about that. missed one summoning mechanic, which of course is before we get to the one in the red box, we're going to go for the one in the purple box. Now the purple box is purple for a reason, and this is my Dark Magician deck, and of course the fusion summon. Now again, like Link and certainly Rituals, I don't have anything against fusion summoning, and in fact I've got quite a lot of decks that use fusion monsters. It's just not my favourite, that's all. So this is Master of Chaos from my Dark Magician deck, just to give you an idea, that's all. Just a fusion monster. So yeah, it's not my favourite, so it sits sort of middle of the road, I should say. It's just not my preferred method. It's you know, I have got quite a few fusion decks actually when you start to think about it, but the Dark Magician deck sort of at hand, I can just grab it. But yeah, so that will sit number 3, and then into number 2 we've then got sort of, like I say, the first real change for me is of course synchro summoning. I love synchro summoning because obviously my first archetype deck, if you can call it that, was Exorcisters. No, it wasn't. It was X-Sabers, and obviously they're a synchro deck. And at the time, any deck that was out there was a synchro summon deck. So, you know, I quickly got into it. I just love the way the card looks. I think in white it looks absolutely super. This is of course my Kiza Black Rose Dragon deck, which I profiled recently. But yeah, the whole concept of having a, you know, building your deck around a certain number of tuners, getting the ratios right, making sure that you've not got too many of one or too little of the other. Which cards, you know, you could really fill your extra deck with the right relevant cards. And I always, with a synchro deck, like to make sure I've got availability of each level. So I might have a 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, just to make sure I've got something I can go into depending on what monsters are on the field. There's always an option for me depending on which deck it is. Obviously that's not always the case. I mean, for instance, this one's just full of level 7 and 8 dragon monsters, so you know, it's not always like that, but you can get the idea. That's what I generally look at. But yeah, I think it's more the way they look and the way they excuse me, and the way that you can just sort of, it manipulates the way you build your deck, I suppose. And of course, last but not least, is my it's Exorcister deck, but of course that means it's the XYZ summoning mechanic. For me, it really is an excellent way of summoning this, and I love the way the card looks. I think in black they look absolutely great. I really like how they, you know, they can't, if you wanted to make a broken XYZ card, all you have to do is limit the number of materials that you can possibly put on it, or indeed, you know, if it has a really, really cool effect, all you have to do is you have to remove 2 materials from it, so therefore you can only do it once. You know, you can limit it quite a lot. And I know there's lots of other cards out there that, you know, are super powerful and they deserve to be on the ban list, blah, blah, blah. But I just really like how it works and the rulings that you can do around it, and you know, the fact that you can just limit it as much as you want, or Konami can, when they're launching, and the fact that they're still getting brand new XEs decks, and there's still loads of strategies out there using XEs. You know, it's certainly not dead by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, But I think that's the order of mine anyway. Sorry for missing out fusions. No, nothing against the fusion player there. But yeah, in order: Xyz, Synchro, Fusion, Link, Ritual, and of course Pendulum. Guys, let's hear from the other team, from the team members, and see what their ranked options are. We'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye.